You're listening to the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe, a podcast of curated conversations with C-suite leaders and those who support organizational growth and development. Get ready for inspiring interviews, educational lessons, and thought-provoking discussions that will challenge you to execute something new and innovative that will drive results in your organization. And now, here's Dr. Tanya Lowe.
Hello. You're listening to episode 16 of the Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe, using my results-driven philosophy of strategy, leadership, teams, and customer experiences. I help organizations develop their best-kept secret, their human capital. This podcast is designed to expand the conversation with C-suite leaders and those who support organizational growth and development and what it really takes to create, develop, and maintain results-driven and high-performing organizations. Our guest today is no stranger to leadership. She is currently the Executive Director of Texas Brazos Trail Region, a Waco City Council Member for District 1, a former Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Waco, Texas. She sits on many boards, subcommittees, and task forces where she serves in leadership roles such as the Waco ISD Foundation Board, Creative Waco Cultural Arts Task Force, NAACP Executive Committee, Second Vice President and Economic Engagement Chair, Waco Civic Theater Board, Texas Downtown Association and the Community Visioning Board. She's a proud member of the Waco Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and Jack and Jill of America Incorporated. She is an engaged leader. Andrea, welcome to RDO.
Hi, thank you for having me, Dr. Lowe.
So let's jump right in. What is Texas Brazos Trail Region, and what was it about this organization that attracted you to them?
So we have the state of Texas is a big elephant, right?
Yes.
And in 1968, when the city of San Antonio was celebrating their 250th birthday, they decided to have the hemisphere. So at that point, Governor Connolly said, how can we get the people who are coming to the World's Fair in San Antonio, Texas, to spend just one extra day in our state? But that's a big elephant to eat. So the folks in the governor's office decided to create the Heritage Trails. So it broke the state up into 10 pieces. So it would give people a palatable way to experience heritage and cultural tourism. The Brazos Trail is one of those 10 regions, and we consist of 18 counties. So my region covers about 588 square miles.
Wow. And it's pronounced Brazos?
Brazos.
Texas yeah. Brazos Trail.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just like a walking trail.
No. And the trail system, it's funny to explain, because it is a drivable trail that you get to experience the different parts and things of Texas. I mean, the things that make Texas, Texas. The Brazos Trail is one of the largest rivers in the state, and it flows through the state from parts of the Panhandle to the Gulf. And so you can experience the various parts and features of our state, our agriculture, trains, the Chisholm Trail, so how your whole cowboy experience.
Yes.
The different histories, the way the Brazos shares some of Texas's most famous bluesmen. Ooh. So music, all foods, all of those things that we love and enjoy, we get an opportunity to share and promote. So economic development and advancement of those communities, a deeper understanding of how diverse our state is, especially our region, and just some of those beautiful Texas nuggets that make Texas, Texas.
Wow. Well, it sounds so exciting. And I actually need to make a trip to Texas so I can check it out.
Absolutely.
Jump on the trail. So you have a very eclectic background, theater, government, Mayor Pro Tem. What are some transferable skills that you've learned from, theater and arts and government that you use today in leadership?
So every decision that you make, every step you take is built on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you can say about the arts, especially theater arts, is connecting. When you do a piece, a play, a show every day, you're doing the same thing over and over again. So it's not like your tasks are different, but who you're dealing with is different. And having the ability to meet people where they are and connect with them on a level that they will understand what you're trying to convey, that's transferable in any particular industry, business, goal, committee, department, government that you could pick from, because the things that you know. So how is it that I can relate this information and make it clear to the audience that I'm dealing with? That's the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is your secret sauce, for leadership, because so many people, they struggle with developing relationships and actually connecting. Someone asked me if I would come and do a communications training for their staff. And I was like, bleh, bleh, bleh. And they were like, what? I was like, are we still talking about communicating? Everyone communicates, as John Maxwell says, but how many people are actually connecting? And what is it taking to connect with that end user? And they were like, oh, okay. So I was like, no, I don't do communication, but I can help your people connect better, which is going to help your bottom line, which is what everybody wants at the end of the day.
Right.
It's what people want at the end of the day. So you are no stranger to leadership. You've held many leadership roles in your career. How important is it to you to have a strong team? And what are some of the things that you're doing to cultivate and maintain a strong team during COVID-19?
Well, one of the things that we figured out is we are not in this alone. You cannot be. And in my professional career, I'm a staff of one, right? Mm-hmm. But we run 18 regions. So partnerships and working with folks is pivotal in what we do. So we have to, again, master that connection and connectivity piece. We have to realize that everyone has to have a clear understanding of the end goal. So mission and vision is a whole thing that we have to make sure everyone understands, because we're not going to go there and get there at the same place or time.
Right.
Because everybody is engaged in doing different things. We have found that, I'm so sorry, that we are doing many things at one time. And having to deal and engage with folks who are dealing with different challenges, working through different projects, but we all have to end with the same mission and goal and get the same accomplishment together. So grace is the other piece, and extending grace. We learned that in COVID completely. It took us all a minute. I mean, it was this was a semicolon year.
Yeah. We've not been here.
No.
None of us have been here before.
No. And prayerfully won't be again. But what we have to do, what we had to realize is, one, where our shortfalls are, which we understand. Two, extend the grace to get past that. And three, figure out, okay, how do we regroup and get this job done? Because you mentioned the bottom line earlier, we all have one. That didn't change because COVID was here. And it took us, we had to figure out, do we need to adjust that? How do we find our adjustments? How do we work and lead the people? Who do you need to make that adjustment is the other part. Yeah. Who do you need that you don't have? And the beautiful thing now is there is no place in the world you can't go to get them, because we communicate. We do not have to be in the same space to do this job.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed during this time is that organizations were really looking at how they hire. If you want to really test, did you make a good hiring decision? How those people that you've put into leadership positions and you've promoted, how are they doing during this time? And I know I've talked with a couple of folks, and it's not been those people oftentimes who have risen to the occasion. It's been people who might not have that leadership title, or they're in that leadership chair, that have they've carried the team, they've encouraged the team, they've helped their manager, their team lead to how to extend grace and to say, hey, we can get this work done. We don't have to be micromanaged. You don't have to watch us on a Zoom for 8 hours, but we can get this done and we're going to be okay. And so those are some of the conversations that I've been hearing is, you really want to know you've made a good hiring decision in a crisis. Can this person handle the crisis?
A lot of times the weight of the burdens of all the things that are happening are falling on your leaders, and they're not doing well. The burdens that are falling on leaders in crisis kind of show where the weaknesses are. However, the benefit of it is that the people who are the village, the people who are your organization's workers, your members, your staff, your people, have an opportunity, because they don't have the pressure that sits on the leadership, to really grow and shine. And they understand the whole theory of let's gather together and get this project done. Often, leaders, sometimes we think, okay, I have to make sure that this is here and these places are here and this is done. The staff is only concerned with the job. Right. And so they have they had the bandwidth and the space to really rise to the occasion and show how many, what happens when we really come together to get a project done. Right. We saw this from a city perspective, having to completely adjust how we did public health. You've got your public health director, you've got the, C-suite staff, if you will. Yeah. But the people who made public health transition was staff, because you had to go from an 8-hour day to a 16, 20-hour day. You had to galvanize and gather people to get tested, to find locations to do that, to find other staff to make it happen. You had to coordinate vaccines that were temperature controlled. You had to do all of the things. This had to happen. It wasn't an opportunity for it not to. Right. So the staff had they had no choice but to kick it in another notch, dig deeper. Now, leadership, we can say, yes, we need to do all these things. Somebody has to actually do it.
Somebody has to make it happen.
And so those are the people, those are the stars, and those are the people who hopefully will advance into leadership and different roles, because now the people in position know they can. I belong to an organization called Texas Lyceum, and it is a statewide entity full of various industries, from the president of the United States is there are a couple presidents that are former Lyceum directors, to ministers and social workers, executive directors all across the state. And it's an organization that is built to foster the needs of future leaders of Texas. And we were talking about what leadership looks like bottom up. Because again, we have the misnomer.
Yes,
down works, and it doesn't. It's bottom up, and it's the people who are taking care of how businesses function, how organizations function. That's where your leadership is. And looking at what, as we're trying to figure out who are the next people to join the Lyceum, is there a timeline that because it's supposed to be young leaders, so they don't want all the old birds in the business, keeping it, very stagnant. But does it take people the same time to advance to leadership? And, you know, does it take people of color longer? Does it take women longer? Does it take, you know, how are we looking at that? And so if we're looking at it truly from the leadership capabilities and possibilities are far beyond just executive level. And how do we, so now that we know this, of course we've always known it, but now that we can't ignore that, you know, how do we go about bringing those people up?
Yeah. That is a great question. Development is so pivotal in every organization. Sure. You know, even people who carry the leadership title, if you will, they still need to understand about I'm here, but how do I develop other people in the organization? I was having a conversation earlier about succession planning. You know, who's developing the person that's going to come behind me in government. And I grew up in government. So oftentimes there are no succession plans, unfortunately. So, you know, you're gone, you take all the knowledge, and they're always starting over instead of really looking at what does it take to develop a knowledge base of people within the organization that can carry the organization. I believe that when you're getting ready to fill a position, you should have talent, and you probably do, talent in-house that you should look at first.
I mean, so my story in politics is one of those that I think politics and ministry are the same, in that if you were born into it, you either run to it or you absolutely run from it. And my mother I always considered her a king or queen maker because she ran campaigns. I was in college. She called and said, I'm running for city council. We're moving, you know, so I can do that. Come get your stuff or it's going in the trash. And she hung up. And she decided to run for city council and won. She was on council for 4 years, and she says, okay, I'm running for mayor. And I was like, okay. So she ran for mayor, won. She passed away in office 10 months into office.
Oh, wow.
So, right. And it was I didn't realize how much of a loss it was for Waco. For Waco, I knew what it was for me. You know, I knew what it was for the family, but for the city. And I was living in Houston at the time, and, you know, had started a performing arts studio, was doing the things, right? And because politics wasn't ever anything that I wanted to actively engage in. Passively, sure. I mean, very, you know, engaged in, you know, political activities within my community. You know, we're doing all the things, registering the votes, doing the social action, all of that business, because that's how we were raised. But when I got back to Waco, I realized that even in the 12 years it had been since she passed away, all right, so many things hadn't gotten done because no one was prepared to take the reins.
Right.
And there was not any particular succession plan. We see that in a lot of our organizations. We've got to do better about that. I mean, we don't have term limits in Waco for city council. I have a term limit, and I'm trying to figure out who is the next me. And, you know, who can take the history. There's a sign up here in this mural, on the mural that's on our library, and it's a intersection sign, a street sign, and it is the intersection of history and vision. And so those are the things that I think are, you know, just absolutely necessary as we form succession plans, because it's not like you have to do the things, the next person doesn't have to do things the exact same way I did. But it's helpful to know what we've already done, the mistakes that have been made, the contacts that are in existence, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, working with Main Street, we used to say, you know, everybody has R&D, right? But R&D for Main Street was rip off and duplicate.
So you have R&D rights.
Exactly.
Yes, I love it.
But to be able to take what has already been established, what the history that's already there, combine it, align it with the vision that you have, this next person, so we cannot stop. Yeah. That's a problem. When you don't have proper succession planning, you have to stop and start over, all the time. You know how much time we lose with that? And that's, how far behind we are with that?
A lot of time. A lot of time.
And wasted time that you'll never get back.
No. We've got to stop being afraid of youth. We've got to stop being afraid of technology, of innovation, and the phrase, we've always done it that way. Those are the murderers of an organization. And it's because you're not open, or they're not open to a different way of thinking. Different doesn't have to be wrong. It's just different. And if we can combine some of these thought processes and come up with something that's going to work, that it doesn't have to be a generational a fight, generational war in an organization, if you will. It's like, hey, let's bring these ideas together and create something that is going to be great for the bottom line.
The council has shifted. We never had like a super old council. Mm-hmm. But it isn't. When I am now the second oldest person on council, it's a shift.
Yeah.
And it's a different thought process. And, so what we are doing is history and vision. We're working together to figure out how to make it work for Wacoans. Our community is shifting. The people who are moving to Waco are younger. Waco was a community where, generations of families lived. And so you had tenure and a lot of seniors and sedentary ways and thought processes of there used to be 5 families that controlled Waco. I mean historically, hundreds of years ago. And I always say now there have been enough funerals that the people who moved to Waco now don't know who the 5 families are, nor do they care.
Right.
And that's a shift in how we move as a city. So that's a shift on how people move as in organizations. When we study and go to school and matriculate out and graduate and get into the workforce, the founding ways of most organizations are foreign. Outside of what you learned in a book, right. It's not applicable into anything that you are doing in your day-to-day life. So I think that the people in leadership and management, that's one thing that they have to take into account. Because I'm new on the scene, I'm fresh on the scene, and this is what my life experience is. Right. And that's how we can incorporate. But we have to incorporate it. We may not want to, and sometimes we get, it's funny when you, and I just had a birthday, so I'm really excited about birthdays and life and age. I've never been one to care or quietly keep how old I am. So I just turned 45. That's the you're really getting into figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
Fun facts, I really don't think life begins until 50.
I have the balloon to prove it.
But, when you're dealing with people, and I'm not old, right? But when you're dealing with people who are in their 20s, their perspective is different. Mm-hmm. And we have to be okay with that because, again, we were once 20. We once knew the best way to do everything. Mm-hmm. And then we also figure out what, again, that connectivity and working with people and what concession looks like and not necessarily compromise.
Right.
Because I don't know that anybody has to lose any footing in order for us to come to agreement.
I think it goes back to what you said initially. It's about relationships and connecting. It's relationships and connecting. Regardless, we're seeing this is known as the summer of quitting. Have you read those articles?
Yes.
The summer of quitting. And so, more than 3.9 million people quit their jobs in April of 2021, and another 94,000 people in the professional and business services contributed to that number. People are leaving their jobs. When you think about the different generation levels, people they want something different. They want something where they can connect and be a part of. And if it's not happening, it's like, wait, this whole 17, 18 months, I've done more with less. I've realized that I was burnt out before the pandemic, or fed up before the pandemic, or just tired. I want to do something else, and I can. And I think in organizations are going to have to find a way. They're going to have to go back and revisit their mission and vision statement, and look at, how do we attract talent, keep talent, diverse talent, and get them involved in the organization, and frankly, give a damn.
I mean, and this is a prime opportunity to make sure that, because people don't have to deal anymore with toxicity in workplace.
Absolutely not.
And there are a lot of organizations that are killing themselves. They're killing themselves, and it teaches people how to it teaches you how to treat people, because with what they will and won't tolerate any longer. Right. The line in the sand has been drawn. Yeah. It has been drawn because I know what we figured out our worth because we were dealing with our life during the pandemic. Yeah. And the value of my life. And so I can imagine that it will probably get worse, and just from a staffing perspective, before it gets better. But this is an opportunity that businesses can no longer say what we can't do for our employees.
Yeah, they don't have the luxury of saying that anymore.
Oh, because we couldn't work from home. You can't work from home. Well, sure you can. No, we can't afford to pay you. So, well, sure you can.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Of course you can. This whole work-life balance business, we really, we really need you. So, no, you can't go see your kid play whatever, Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. And so as organizations, we have to determine how we redraw our lines. Yeah. What is the truth? Number one. Mm-hmm. What we need, because we need people. You cannot function in these organizations without people. We can't do a thing without the people who make the wheels turn.
I say it all the time. Your best kept secret is your human capital.
It's all we have. And that's what we need. But we owe it to those humans to increase their capital, to give them a space and opportunity where they can truly rise to the occasion, shine, and be great. But we have to figure out what is our real bottom line as organizations, so that we can really offer. Because the people they will go.
They will go. They're going.
They're going.
They're going. They're going. It's about it's that trust factor. People have realized I don't know if I trust my organization anymore. And so I want to ask you a question about that. As an elected official to the city council, a position of service, you're the executive director of an 18 county area for Central Texas. How do you create the know, like, and trust factor with your internal and external customers and constituents? How do you create that?
So the only thing I can speak to is for me, being your authentic and best self. But you have to be authentic and best self all the time.
I like that. I like that. Being your authentic and best self all the time.
So people make a decision within seconds whether or not they trust you. I've never, being a true politician or being a person who truly understands, we know that people are not necessarily going to like you. And that's fine. I walk out the door and people are mad at me for something. And it's normally trash and water. It's those sexy things, right?
Right.
And
trash and water.
And potholes. That sexy.
Yeah.
But do you believe that when you call me, that I'm going to do something about that, or try my best to do something about that? Doesn't matter if you like it. Do you believe me when you call and say, "Hey, Andrea, hey, Councilmember Barefield, this is happening on my street. Can you do something about it?" Well, because I've spent time and offered my authentic self to you before, not just on the campaign trail. That if you ask me to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But that takes relationship building.
Yeah.
And that takes being your authentic and best self all the time.
I love that, because when you as a leader are being your best and authentic self all the time, you create a space where other people can be their best and authentic self all the time.
People get, they respond in kind.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm giving you the energy, and that truth and walking with you in that process. So my campaign was truth, vision, and voice. So if I'm walking in that truth, I'm allowing you and I to cast vision together, and I'm hearing your voice,
mm-hmm.
and then giving you voice.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that people will respond in kind, because you want to treat folks like you want to be treated. It is a cardinal rule that has not changed. Nor gone away. So what you give is generally what you will receive. So give it out, and people will give it back to you. And that's how we continue to grow and build. Because when you've done something and been empowered, you then go and empower. And it could be active, it could be passively. Because everybody is not going to be forward facing like you, Dr. Lowe, forward facing like me. It could be in passive behavior, but because I've done something for someone else within my community, a neighbor, a friend, a kid, an elder, mm-hmm. It's going to continue to go. And that's the only way we're going to better in any organization, professionally or personally.
What do you feel the biggest challenges leaders face today? Leaders had challenges before COVID. They will have challenges after COVID, if we can ever say we're in the after COVID. But what do you believe their biggest challenges they face today?
There's so many things. I think that there are a lot of interpersonal wars within leadership, just about, are we doing the right thing? Because when you lead people and you're responsible for, staff, citizens, you have their best interest. You're responsible for what's best for them, or what their lives, if you will. Mm-hmm. So am I doing the right thing? So, I know a lot of leaders suffer with a lot of doubt. But I think that the largest challenge will be going forward. What can we do to advance where we are without sacrificing so much? In the past few years, especially in this business, how we move equitably, mm-hmm. because we haven't done so for so long. How we move carrying everyone with us, because, we want to go forward. And so if that's your organization, if that's your city, if that's your business, you want your business to grow. But, we've seen what happens when only the top succeed
Mm-hmm.
and how detrimental it is for a general body. So I think, well, I'm going to say good leaders who have everyone in mind as they lead, want to carry everyone forward and advance. So I think the challenges is making sure, how we grow now, with all of the things that we have to consider and carry in mind and not leave anyone behind. I think that the biggest challenges are mental fatigue, because there is no off button. And I think that not losing yourself in this process, because if you are truly a servant leader, you are not the priority at any point. But without you, we can't get the things done that we need to get done. So, ensuring that you're using self-care and taking care of yourself, because we can't function without you. Believing that even though there is doubt, hesitation, imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, that functions inside of you, you were called to do something, and this is for you. And that belief that it will happen because of you. And 3, just making sure we advance and carry everyone forward as we move to advance our organizations. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion are the things that we kind of have to function and live by. As a 70s kid, I appreciate the fact that it's Jedi, because, Star Wars functions in the back of my head all the time. But I think that adding that justice piece was so important in how we advance our communities from an equity standpoint, because, without justice, it's just words.
Without justice, it's just words. And people are so tired of just words. They want to see action. And it doesn't have to be monumental action. No, it's make some steps. Show me that you're not just giving me, you're just talking, but that you really give a damn.
Yeah, it doesn't even take much. Yeah. But I think that, leaning in and giving a damn is how we're going to be able to do something. Yeah. For somebody. It doesn't, if you can't affect thousands of people, hundreds of people, get one or two and make a difference in that life. And again, as we do for others, it will continue. It's cyclical, and we will continue to grow and advance. But we got to do something.
Yeah. Andrea, what have you learned? What have your team members or your constituents, what have they taught you? What are some things that you've learned from them? We've been talking a lot about leadership and being authentic and relationships. But I believe that the people that we serve and the people that we work with teach us so much. So what are some things that you've learned from your team or your constituents or along your journey?
So many things. I think the most is that a lot of it is if you think you're the smartest person in the room, get in a new room. Because everybody knows, are their subject matter experts. And so when I have a conversation with the chairperson or the president of the neighborhood association, that's 80 years of wisdom right there. And, take time to get it. Because we're so busy doing the things. What I've learned is you have to stop and make time. Make time to hear the people who you're supposed to be helping. You can't just, because, you come in and you have the things that you can imagine, the vision that you want to cast for whatever, in my case, my district, are you sure that's what they need? Did you ask? Did you ask for? Did you just come
Did you
in?
ask for another holiday? Is that what you asked for? I mean, I'm just saying.
So get in the room, get with the people to make sure and understand that the things that you want to see done are actually what need to be done. They will tell you. They will absolutely tell you what they need. So, communicate all the time. I didn't know that I couldn't take this serious. I mean, I couldn't take everything so seriously. I'm a people person. I love folks. But you can't take it all so seriously because people are mean.
Mm-hmm.
And because now in the information age, they can tell you exactly what they think and how they feel. And you could be hurt by that, mm-hmm. Or you can say it's a part of the process. And it's hard as humans because we're feelers. But, you can't take it all so seriously because at the end of the day, you still have a job to do. And as long as you're on the side of right, keep going.
Yeah. Right is always right. Right.
It's just that simple. Right. It's just that simple. And, the other thing is there are so many more people who are there for you than against you. There are so many people applauding you. Now you might not see them ever because it's that squeaky wheel, right? It's the one who's talking the loudest or who people hear. But there are always people applauding you. We just got a really important vote for my district, and I'm so excited. We're building a STEAM center, and for the kids in our community, and renovate. We just purchased. The YMCA was closing a building, and we bought it, and so we're going to move our recreation centers into that, which will add and expand it's got pools, got 8 acres to do a ball. I mean, all kinds of things.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize, because I've been talking about it for a year and a half, but, COVID happened. So we kind of had to shift. How many people were so ecstatic that happened because it's a neighborhood institution that we were in danger of losing. Mm-hmm. And so when you have someone who's, 85 and they send, call you and because they calling, they not sending emails, they calling, baby, thank you for saving the Y, because we still need that.
Wow.
That's why you do this, because there are so many people who are supporting you and who are cheering you on more than you know about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is so powerful because if you've got someone who's cheering you on and advocating for you in rooms that you're not even in, that's going to go a long way.
So much further.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Andrea, what are you reading that we should be reading?
Oh, goodness. I read a lot of biographies.
Okay.
So I reread Cicely Tyson's and listened to it on Audible. So I am reading or listening to several podcasts about HBCUs.
Okay.
Crucial Conversations was the last book I read. It's again how to meet people where they are, how to connect.
Yeah, yeah.
Hard conversations happen every day, and so having how to engage in crucial conversations was helpful for me.
Probably needs to be on every leader's reading list.
Yeah. And I also believe that your mind has to disengage sometimes. So I read historical romance novels by Black authors. And so, it's a little helpful diversion.
Absolutely.
So there's one of my favorite authors is Beverly Jenkins, and she just had it's a book called Indigo. And it's probably one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read.
Aww. I'm putting that on the list. So all of these books, guys, you can, you'll be able to find them in the show notes. So make sure you check them out. We've been chatting with Andrea Jackson Barefield, Executive Director of Texas Brazos Trail region, City Council Member, and community leader. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Visit the show notes to see how to connect with Andrea. Grab a copy of Results Driven Organizations, The 4 Keys to a High Performance Workplace, and our special gift to you for being a valued listener. Until next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Results Driven Organizations podcast with Dr. Tanya Lowe. Be sure to review the show notes for the resources mentioned, and don't forget to grab your free gift available at freegiftfromtanya.com. Until next time.